The starship Intrepid descended slowly through Xylaris's thick violet clouds. Below, massive forests shimmered in colors humans had never seen. Rivers glowed faintly like liquid sapphires, and the sky was crisscrossed with floating islands that hovered without support. Captain Elias Kane leaned on the railing of the observation deck, awe written across his face. "Never gets old," he muttered to himself, eyes wide. Beside him, Lieutenant Mara Chen checked the ship's instruments. "Sensors are stable. The atmosphere is breathable. The air is strangely sweet," Elias chuckled.
Sweet, huh?
"I'll take your word for it. Let's hope the locals are friendly too." The Intrepid had been sent to Xylaris on a scientific mission, but Elias knew humans were still minor players in the galaxy. They weren't conquerors, just explorers, observers, and occasional negotiators. Yet stepping foot on this alien world, he felt a thrill that went beyond science. The ship landed gently on a platform carved into a massive crystalline plateau. The landing was smooth, almost silent. As the airlock opened, a breeze carrying the scent of strange flowers greeted them. Elias stepped out first, followed by Mara and the rest of the crew. They were met by a group of tall, graceful aliens with translucent skin that shimmered faintly. Their eyes were larger than human eyes, glowing softly in blue and green hues. Each one wore long, flowing robes adorned with intricate patterns. At the center stood a figure taller than the others, radiating authority and power. "Welcome, humans," said a voice, smooth but commanding. Elias caught the subtle undertone of caution in it. "I am Queen Vela of Xylaris. You are guests in my domain." Elias bowed respectfully. "Queen Vela, it is an honor. I am Captain Elias Kane, representing the United Earth Coalition. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship." The Queen nodded, her eyes sharp and calculating. Behind her, guards stood like statues, their attention unyielding. From behind the Queen, another figure stepped forward. She was younger, about Elias's age, with shimmering hair that seemed to float slightly as if moved by an unseen breeze. Her eyes, a brilliant mix of green and gold, studied the humans with curiosity rather than suspicion. "This is Princess Liara," the Queen said. "My daughter!" Elias felt a strange pull of awe. He had met diplomats and leaders, but there was something magnetic about Liara. Not just her beauty, but her calm confidence. The way she observed without judgment. He extended his hand politely, a gesture meant to show respect. "Princess Liara, it's an honor." Liara inclined her head gracefully. "The honor is mine, Captain Kane." It was a fleeting moment, but as their hands brushed lightly, a ripple of tension swept through the gathering. Guards stiffened. Advisors whispered urgently. Elias sensed he had broken some unspoken rule, but he didn't know which. Queen Vela's eyes narrowed, a low hiss escaping her throat.
"How dare you touch my daughter?"
she exclaimed, her voice echoing across the crystalline plateau. Elias froze. He had no idea what he had done wrong. I meant no disrespect," he said carefully, raising his hands. "I only wished to greet her." Liara, however, stepped forward and placed her hand gently on Elias's arm. "Mother," she said softly yet firmly, "I am not afraid. He did not harm me." The Queen's fury was visible, but she paused, taken aback by her daughter's composure. Around them, the palace court buzzed with whispers. Human behavior was unpredictable, Liara realized, and she found it intriguing. Elias felt a mix of relief and nervous excitement. He realized that in this world a simple touch could ignite political tension, and yet the princess's calm defiance offered a spark of hope. The Queen took a deep breath, visibly restraining herself. "You will remain under supervision while we determine your intentions, human," she said. Guards moved to flank Elias, their presence firm but not aggressive. Liara looked at him, her golden green eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Come," she said quietly. "Do not fear. Not all of my people wish to harm you." Elias followed her through towering doors into a grand hall. The walls were made of a material that shimmered like liquid glass, reflecting colors and patterns that seemed to dance with every movement. Floating lights hovered above, illuminating the hall without visible sources. "This place, it's incredible," Elias whispered. Liara smiled faintly. "Xylaris is beautiful, yes, but beauty is not always safe." As they walked, Elias noticed statues of ancient rulers and panels depicting scenes of battle and diplomacy. The history of Xylaris was rich and complex. He realized that understanding their culture would require more than observation. It would require empathy, courage, and patience. Liara led him to a quiet chamber with soft, glowing walls. "Here we can speak without interruption," she said. "Tell me, Captain Kane, what brings humans to our world?" Elias took a deep breath. "We seek knowledge, Princess. Science, yes, but also understanding. Our worlds are different, yet we hope to learn from each other. Maybe even find friendship." Liara studied him for a long moment. "Friendship is rare in Xylaris. Loyalty is expected, love is controlled." She paused, then added with a faint smile, "But perhaps that is why your ways fascinate me. You value choice, not command." Elias felt a thrill of connection. Here was someone who saw him as a person, not just a representative of Earth. I think we have much to learn from each other," he said softly. Liara nodded, eyes thoughtful. "Yes, but be warned, Captain. Curiosity can be dangerous here. Not everyone will welcome it." Elias understood the warning. Yet in that moment, he also realized that humans had a gift the Xylarians lacked: courage in the face of fear. It was why humans had survived, thrived, and now reached the stars. The distant sound of footsteps echoed through the hall. The Queen had not yet forgiven or trusted him. Yet for the first time, Elias felt that he was not entirely alone in this alien world. Princess Liara, her gaze steady and kind, offered a bridge between two civilizations. As the sun, or what passed for a sun on Xylaris, cast violet-golden light through the crystalline towers, Elias stood beside Liara and thought, "This is only the beginning." Outside, the palace buzzed with intrigue and tension, but inside that quiet chamber, a fragile bond had already begun to form, one that could change not just the fate of humans on Xylaris, but the destiny of both their worlds. And so the story of trust, courage, and unexpected connection began, on a planet of light, shadow, and shimmering wonders, where a single touch could ignite the fires of destiny. The palace of Xylaris hummed with tension. Word of Captain Elias Kane's touch of Princess Liara had spread quickly, like fire across dry leaves. Courtiers whispered, guards exchanged sharp glances, and Queen Vela's fury was like a storm ready to strike. Yet amidst the tension, Liara remained calm, her gaze fixed on Elias with quiet curiosity. "Do you understand the seriousness of your action, human?" Queen Vela's voice cut through the hall like a blade. Her translucent skin shimmered as her anger radiated outward. Elias bowed slightly, keeping his tone respectful. I meant no disrespect, Your Majesty. I only wished to greet the princess. I did not know it would offend your customs." "Offend?" the Queen snapped. "It is more than offense. Touching the royal heir without permission is considered a breach of sacred law. A crime in the eyes of Xylaris. Do you understand the weight of that?" Liara stepped between them, raising her hands. "Mother, he did not harm me. I am not afraid. I know his intentions are pure." Her voice was steady, firm, and yet carried a softness that surprised everyone. Queen Vela's eyes narrowed. "Liara, you will obey tradition. Your judgment is clouded by novelty." "Mother," Liara said gently, "humans see the world differently. They value choice and respect, not fear or rigid obedience. Perhaps that is why he acted as he did." The Queen's expression twisted. She had ruled Xylaris for decades, navigating the complex codes of her people. Humans were unpredictable, reckless, and sometimes dangerous. And yet, she could not deny the calm sincerity in Liara's eyes, nor the quiet honesty in Elias's gaze. Elias spoke cautiously. "Your Majesty, I promise I will honor your customs. I will not overstep again. I wish only to understand, to learn from your people." A murmur spread through the assembly. Some advisors frowned, others exchanged uneasy glances. Humans were clever, but often too impulsive. Still, Elias's words carried an honesty that could not be ignored. Queen Vela's voice softened, but only slightly. "You will remain under watch," she said. "Your actions have consequences. Any further breach and you will face punishment according to Xylaris law." Liara inclined her head toward Elias. "Come," she whispered. "Let us speak where we are not observed. There is much you do not know about this place, and much you will need to understand if you are to survive here." Elias followed her through the palace corridors, their footsteps echoing on the smooth, crystalline floors. As they walked, he noticed murals depicting the history of Xylaris. Battles won, alliances forged, and rulers crowned. The palace was not just a home. It was a living testament to centuries of power and tradition. Your culture is so strict, Elias said quietly. It feels like one wrong step could ruin everything. Liara nodded. Xylaris is structured. Every action has meaning. Every gesture carries weight. That is why your touch shocked everyone. But I find it intriguing, Ilias blinked. Intriguing? I'm supposed to be terrified, not intriguing. Liara smiled faintly. Perhaps you are brave, human. Or perhaps you simply act without fear because you do not yet understand. The sun, or what passed for a sun on Xylaris, cast violet-golden light across the crystalline towers of the palace. Inside, the halls were alive with whispers. Captain Elias Kane had been placed under careful supervision, but Princess Liara had made her decision. She would see him, speak with him, and perhaps understand him better than anyone else could. That morning, she slipped quietly from her chambers, moving through hidden corridors known only to the royal family. Elias waited in a small study room near the central garden, his hands folded, mind alert for the slightest sound. Good morning, Captain, Liara said softly as she entered, her voice a contrast to the tension outside. Good morning, Princess, Elias replied, bowing slightly. I didn't expect to see you so early. Liara smiled faintly. Neither did the palace. But I want to speak to you, away from the watchful eyes. There is much you do not understand about Xylaris, and I want you to learn. Elias nodded. I want to learn. I want to understand your world. And your people. Liara stepped closer, gesturing to a small window overlooking the floating forests. You humans are strange, she said. So fearless, so direct. You do not hide your thoughts, yet you respect those in authority. It is rare here. Most of my people fear what they do not know. Elias considered her words. We fear, yes, but we act because we believe it is right, not just because it is safe. That is how humans survive. That is how we grow. Liara's eyes glimmered with interest. Perhaps that is why I am drawn to you. You act with heart. And courage. Here, courage is often hidden behind tradition. Fear rules more than choice. Their conversation continued, flowing naturally as if the boundaries of species and culture dissolved for a moment. Elias spoke of Earth, of oceans, mountains, cities, and people striving for connection. Liara spoke of Xylaris, its history of rulers, its strict codes, and the beauty and danger of her world. As they walked through the palace gardens, Elias marveled at the glowing flora. Strange vines floated in the air, curling gently without support. Flowers shimmered with colors that shifted like liquid rainbows. Tiny luminescent creatures darted between branches, leaving trails of light. This place, it feels alive, Elias said, eyes wide. Almost as if it watches us, Liara nodded. It does. Xylaris is alive, not just in the trees or rivers, but in its people. We feel the pulse of the world. We are bound to it as it is bound to us. Humans, you are different. You move through worlds without feeling them. You survive, but you do not always connect. Elias frowned thoughtfully. Perhaps we could learn from each other. You connect deeply. We adapt quickly. Maybe the combination is stronger than either alone. Liara studied him, impressed by his insight. You speak wisely, human. Few see truth in such simplicity. Perhaps that is why I trust you more than I should. Elias laughed softly. Trust is earned, princess. I hope I can earn yours and that of your people. As the days passed, Elias and Liara met secretly whenever they could. They explored the palace, discussed politics, and shared stories of their worlds. The bond between them grew, not just as curiosity or friendship, but as a deep understanding. But the palace was never quiet for long. The queen's suspicion remained, and her advisors watched closely. Rumors of a human daring to form a bond with the princess spread quickly. Some viewed Elias as a threat, others as a curiosity. One afternoon, a minor incident occurred that tested the growing trust between Elias and Liara. A palace guard, young and impulsive, approached Elias while he studied a holographic map of the palace's defensive systems. You should not be here, human, the guard said, stepping forward with a raised weapon. Elias froze, but Liara was quicker. She stepped in front of him, raising her hands. Stop, she commanded. Her voice carried the weight of authority, calm yet unyielding. The guard hesitated, caught between duty and fear of the princess. Liara's gaze was firm. He is under my protection. Any harm to him will be considered an offense against the royal family. The guard lowered his weapon, bowing quickly. Yes, Princess Liara, forgive me. Elias exhaled, grateful and impressed. That was Brave, he said quietly. Liara shrugged. I did what I had to, but you have courage too, human. Most of my people would have fled or panicked. You stood your ground even when threatened. Elias smiled faintly. I've faced danger before, yes. But this is different. Here every action has weight. One mistake could change everything. Liara nodded thoughtfully. And yet you learn quickly. That is why I trust you. But be careful, Captain Kane. Trust can be dangerous here. Not all will see your courage as virtue. Despite the warnings, the two continued their secret meetings. They practiced small experiments in communication, exchanging ideas about diplomacy, science, and philosophy. Elias introduced concepts of human ethics, choice, and compromise. Liara explained the intricate codes of her people, their laws, and the delicate balance of power that kept Xylaris stable. Through these lessons, Elias realized that humans had a unique strength, the ability to act honestly even when the stakes were high. Xylarians relied on structure, rules, and hierarchy, which sometimes left them unprepared for the unexpected. Elias' courage and clarity impressed Liara, and she began to see him as more than an outsider. He was a bridge between worlds. One evening, as the twin moons of Xylaris rose, casting silver and violet light across the gardens, Liara spoke softly. Captain Kane, do you know why humans are so different? Elias shook his head. I think we are driven by curiosity, hope, and the need to survive together. We value bonds and choice. That is our strength. Liara's gaze softened. Yes, and that strength is rare here. I see it in you, and it intrigues me. I do not always follow tradition, yet I feel it is important. You challenge me to think differently, to see beyond rules and fear. That is a gift. Elias felt a warmth in his chest. Then we can help each other. Humans may be outsiders here, but maybe we can make a difference. Liara smiled faintly. Perhaps. But change is dangerous. Many will resist it. Some will try to stop it before it begins. Their conversation was interrupted by the distant echo of footsteps. Palace guards patrolling, searching for those who moved in secret. Liara grabbed Elias's hand briefly, guiding him to a hidden passage that led back to his quarters. Be careful, she whispered. Tomorrow the court will debate your presence again. They do not yet understand you, and some will see you as a threat. But remember, you are not alone. Elias nodded. I will remember, and I will not fail you, Princess. As he lay in his quarters that night, Elias thought of the strange, glowing forests outside the palace and the alien skies above. He realized that humans had survived not just through strength, but through understanding, courage, and empathy. And in Xylaris, these qualities could be powerful beyond imagination. Liara, too, looked out from her chambers, thinking of the human who had touched her hand, and in doing so, had sparked a change. Her world was strict, bound by tradition and fear. Yet Elias's presence had opened a window to something new, something daring, honest, and full of possibility. And so, amid whispers, suspicion, and hidden threats, a forbidden friendship took root. It was a bond of trust, curiosity, and courage, an unlikely connection between two very different worlds. One that would shape not only their lives, but perhaps the fate of Xylaris itself. For in the midst of palace intrigue and rigid tradition, humans had already begun to prove their worth. And one human, Elias Kane, was showing that even in a world ruled by rules and fear, honesty, courage, and heart could make a difference. The first threads of friendship were delicate, fragile and forbidden, but they were real. And as the moons of Xylaris shone down, Elias and Liara knew that their journey had only just begun. The palace of Xylaris stood tall, its crystal towers glowing under the pale light of two moons. But inside, tension was growing. Whispers of rebellion echoed in the halls, and rumors spread across the city below. Some believed that allowing a human to walk among royalty was a sign of weakness. Enemies beyond the palace walls were already watching. Captain Elias Kane felt the weight of those whispers as he stood on a balcony, overlooking the vast forests. He knew his presence had stirred trouble, but he could not change who he was. He could only prove himself through action. Liara joined him quietly, her shimmering robes brushing against the glass railing. The council grows restless, she said softly. Some believe you should be sent away. Others want you imprisoned. And still others want to use you as a symbol. Elias turned to her. A symbol of what? Liara's golden green eyes held both sadness and determination. Of fear. They say humans are reckless, that you break our laws too easily. They say your kind will bring chaos. Elias let out a long breath. Then I'll prove them wrong, but how do I do that when every move I make is judged as a mistake? Liara placed a hand over her heart. By showing them who you truly are, not just a visitor, not just an intruder, but a man who stands with courage even when others doubt him. Their conversation was interrupted by the sharp sound of alarms ringing throughout the palace. Guards rushed through the halls, their crystal weapons glowing brightly. The queen's voice boomed from the central chamber. An attack! Enemies approach from the northern skies. Elias and Liara exchanged a quick glance. Without hesitation, they hurried to the main hall where Queen Vela stood tall, her expression like carved stone. Our rivals from the Serac. The palace of Zelaris was calm again after the Serac attack. But under the surface, the tension was stronger than before. Captain Elias Kane had proven himself in battle. Yet the whispers in the city grew louder. Many Xylarians believed his presence was dangerous. Others thought his boldness was disrespectful. For Queen Vela, the matter was personal. She could not ignore the human who had saved her people, but neither could she accept him beside her daughter. Liara was the jewel of Xylaris, heir to the throne and the hope of her people. To think that she might feel something for a human, an outsider, was unthinkable. But the queen's fears were not unfounded. For deep inside her heart, Liara had already made her choice. The council hall was vast, with tall crystal pillars and a shining floor that reflected the stars above. That day, it was filled with the most powerful figures of Xylaris. Generals, scholars, and advisors all sat in silence as Queen Vela prepared to speak. At her side stood Liara, graceful and calm, though her golden green eyes held a secret fire. Behind them, Elias waited, unsure why he had been summoned but prepared for anything. The queen's voice rang across the chamber. Today we gather to discuss a matter that cannot be ignored. A human walks among us, saved by chance, allowed into this palace, and even permitted to give counsel in war. His actions have been bold, yes, but boldness does not equal belonging. She raised her hand, pointing toward Elias. Many ask why he is here, why my daughter defends him, why he has not been sent back to his people. I will give this council the chance to speak. Murmurs rose at once. He is dangerous. He is unpredictable. He saved us, yes, but for what price? Some even shouted, "Send him away before he brings ruin." Elias stood tall, his jaw tight but his voice steady. I never asked to be here. I was stranded. I only tried to survive, and when your people needed help, I gave it. If you want me gone, I will go. But do not mistake my presence for some hidden scheme. I am not your enemy. The chamber grew quiet. His words were honest, simple, and without fear. Yet the eyes of the council remained cold. Then Queen Vela spoke again, her tone sharp. You see? He admits he does not belong. He admits he is only here by accident. What more proof do we need? Xylaris does not need a human to stand beside us. It was then that Liara stepped forward. Her voice, clear and strong, broke through the silence. You are wrong, mother. The entire hall froze. Never before had the princess spoken against the queen so openly. All eyes turned to her. Liara lifted her chin, her golden hair shimmering in the crystal light. Elias does not stand here by chance. He stands here because fate placed him here. He is brave, he is wise, and he carries hope even when all odds stand against him. You call him outsider, but to me he is more. The queen's eyes widened. Liara, what are you saying? The princess placed her hand over her heart. I am saying that I love him. The words fell like thunder in the chamber. Gasps spread among the council. Some rose to their feet in shock, others whispered in disbelief. Never in the history of Xylaris had such words been spoken. Queen Vela's voice cracked like a whip. How dare you? She turned, her eyes blazing at Elias. What spell have you cast on my daughter? What trickery is this? Elias raised his hands quickly. No spell, no trick, only truth. I never asked for her love, but I will not deny what is in her heart. Liara stepped closer to him, her voice firm. It is my choice, mother. You raised me to be strong, to speak my truth, to follow what I know is right. And this is right. I love Elias, and no council, no fear, and no tradition will change that. The queen trembled with fury. You are the heir. Your duty is to your people, not to some wandering human. Liara did not back down. Her voice grew even louder. And what is duty without heart? How can I lead if I deny what I truly believe? Elias is not weakness, he is strength. He is not chaos, he is hope, and if my people cannot see that, then I will show them. The chamber erupted into chaos. Some shouted for Elias to be executed. Others demanded the princess be confined until her madness passed. A few, however, whispered quietly in support, recalling how Elias had saved their world during the Serac attack. Elias stood silently, feeling the storm rage around him. His heart pounded, not from fear, but from the weight of what had just been said. Liara had declared her love in front of all. She had risked everything for him. The queen raised her hand, calling for silence. Her voice was low, but filled with iron. Enough. The matter is clear. This human must leave Xylaris at once. And as for you, Liara, she hesitated, her eyes dark with pain. You will be confined until you remember your duty. Guards stepped forward, their crystal weapons glowing. But Liara lifted her head proudly. You can confine my body, mother, but not my heart. It belongs to Elias, and nothing you do will change that. The queen turned away, her jaw tight. Take them both. The guards surrounded Elias and Liara. Elias clenched his fists, ready to fight, but Liara touched his arm lightly. Do not here, not now. We will find another way. With heavy steps, they were led from the council chamber. Behind them, the voices of the council echoed, anger, fear, and disbelief mixing together. That night, in the quiet of a guarded chamber, Elias and Liara sat together. The glow of the crystal walls painted their faces with soft light. Elias spoke first, his voice low. You shouldn't have done that. Now they'll hate you as much as they hate me. Liara smiled faintly. Let them. I will not hide my truth. I would rather face their anger than live in silence. He looked at her, his chest heavy with both worry and admiration. You're braver than me. No, she whispered, taking his hand. I am only following the courage you showed me. You faced my people without fear. You faced my mother with honesty. How could I do less? Elias squeezed her hand gently. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. Outside their chamber, guards kept watch. Beyond the palace, the city buzzed with rumor and unrest. And in the shadows of distant space, the Serac Dominion planned their return, determined not to be humiliated again. But inside that small chamber, hope burned bright. For two hearts had chosen each other, even against the will of a queen, even against the weight of a world. And in that choice, a new chapter for humans and Xylarians alike had begun. The news of Liara's declaration spread across Xylaris like fire. Every street, every marketplace, every whisper in the night carried the same words. The princess loves the human. Some called it betrayal. Others called it madness. Yet a few, quietly and secretly, called it hope. But Queen Vela saw only danger. To her, the bond between her daughter and Elias Cain was a threat, not just to her family, but to her kingdom's future. And when the Serac Dominion learned of this unrest, they saw an opportunity. 3 nights later, the skies above Xylaris burned again. A vast fleet of Serac warships appeared, larger and stronger than before. Their leader's voice echoed across the city in a broadcast. People of Xylaris, the Serac commander sneered. You are weakened. You fight among yourselves. You harbor a fragile human and call him hero. But today you will bow to us or be destroyed. Panic swept the city. Defenses were raised, but the Serac forces were overwhelming. Even the bravest generals whispered that they could not win. In the Queen's war chamber, tension was heavy. Crystal maps displayed the Serac fleet pressing closer, cutting off escape routes. Advisors argued, commanders despaired, and Queen Vela stood silent, her face hard as stone. Elias Cain, though still considered an outsider, could not remain silent. If you fight them the same way as last time, you'll lose, he said firmly. They've studied your defenses. They've adapted. You need to think differently, the Queen glared at him. And you claim to know how? A single human against an empire? Elias did not flinch. Not against an empire. With your people. With all of us together. But someone must lead with courage, not fear. If you fight divided, you will fall. If you fight united, you stand a chance. Liara stepped forward beside him. He is right, Mother. You said my duty is to my people. Then listen. Our people need hope more than ever. Elias carries that hope. The Queen's hands trembled, though her voice remained sharp. Hope does not win wars. No, Elias answered, his voice steady. But without hope, you've already lost. The debate was cut short by a violent tremor. The Serac's largest warship had begun firing on the outer shields of the city. Explosions shook the palace. There was no more time for argument. The battle had come. The queen gave her orders, sending fleets to defend the skies. Yet for every Xylarian ship, there were 3 Serac warships. Slowly, painfully, Xylaris's defenders were pushed back. From the war balcony, Elias watched the battle rage. His mind raced. He was only one man, but he could not stand idle while Liara's people were slaughtered. Then his eyes fell on the palace's crystal towers, tall structures connected by streams of glowing energy. They were not just decorations. They were conduits capable of channeling massive power. "Those towers," he said urgently, turning to Liara. "They can amplify energy, right?" She nodded. "Yes, but they are used to stabilize the shield. If we push them beyond their limit, they could collapse." Elias clenched his fists. "Or they could blind the Serac fleet just like before, but on a greater scale." "Enough to turn the tide," the queen overheard and shook her head. "Impossible. The energy would destroy the palace itself." "It is madness." Elias looked her straight in the eyes. "Sometimes survival demands madness. If you